Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty. And this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also, it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look in the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. Welcome back to another edition, and I'm excited because this next guest is sort of call him a neighbour, just a few hours north of us here in Lennox Head. Meet Simon Thomas, the founding director of Coast Property Buyers. Beginning his property career over 20 years ago as a buyer specialist in Melbourne's competitive Eastern Suburbs, over the years, Simon has built a reputation as one of the country's most respected property experts, thanks to the depth and breadth of his experience spanning Australia's entire East Coast and across multiple disciplines within the property industry. Looking for someone who knows everything you don't when it comes to buying, a highly regarded industry professional and an accomplished auctioneer, Simon harnesses exceptional expertise that only comes with a long-standing career in buying all property types in all markets. Passionate about the Sunshine Coast region and the unique lifestyle and investment opportunity it offers, Simon has called the Sunny Coast home for over 15 years and offers a unique skill set and truly uncovering and understanding what you're looking for, which is ultimately demonstrated in his ability to consistently achieve spectacular outcomes for his clients. It is little wonder that Simon has a growing list of repeat and referral business from past clients. So go and check it out, coastpropertybuyers.com. It's an honor and a privilege to have him on the show today. Mate, welcome. Good to have you on.
Thanks, James. I must get you. I'm not sure what you charge an hour, but maybe I can take you with me everywhere. And you could
to the opening productions.
You could be my professional MC. I just have you in my pocket to his Simon. Let me just introduce you. No, thank you, James. Thanks for having me, mate. That's a lovely introduction. I really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, and thank you for your time today. Let's go back to those early beginnings of jumping into the property market in which we were talking a little bit before. Lovely sunny Melbourne. What started that journey back down then?
Yeah. So prior to real estate, I was involved in the livestock industry. I was actually a stock and station agent. I grew up in country New South Wales, went to a boarding school in regional New South Wales, joined an agency, a stock and station agency out of high school. And when you're a trainee, they pretty much move you. You could be 6 months in an office, or a branch. You could be 12 months, probably not much longer than 18 months. And they moved you to get as much experience as they could possibly give you, which was great when you're young. So I did that sort of in from 19 through to probably 24, 25. And then the last office they moved me to when I moved agencies was in Western Victoria. Had not lived in Victoria before, had not spent a lot of time down there, but worked in the Western Districts in a place called Hamilton.
Right.
But some of your listeners may have heard of Hamilton. Funnily enough, my first client when I was down there was Malcolm and Tammy Fraser.
Oh, wow.
Prime Minister and his wife, yeah. And we actually sold his property, and we did it. And I was also an auctioneer. So I was a livestock agent and auctioneer. And I just felt that at the time that there must be something more to having a career, something more to my work life. Loved what I did and loved the skills I developed. And I just started socialising with some of the guys that were working with me in Hamilton. They were very social animals that would go to pretty much migrate to Melbourne. around footy, horse racing in spring this time of the year. Horse racing kicks off. So Melbourne's a very social town, city, not just for people that live in Melbourne, but certainly other parts of Victoria where they've either gone to school, gone to uni, grown up, have a social group of friends in Melbourne. So I just tagged along. And I started meeting a lot of country guys like me that were working in Melbourne in real estate. And they
Ah,
were doing quite well. This was probably between 96 and 98.
yep.
And the market was pretty tough then. Interest rates were high. And I just thought, well, if I do get out of the livestock industry, what am I going to do? And that's pretty much what opened my eyes to the property market and real estate.
Yeah, fantastic. What a transition though, because there's so many similarities, particularly obviously in auction calling as well. And as you moved into that Melbourne market. And so from there, you spent a number of years down there. What kind of real estate and resi were you dealing with down in Melbourne?
Look, I was very fortunate. I was just saying to you off air, I've caught up with one of my great mates in Noosa this morning. He's Melbourne, and he was the first agent I worked for in Melbourne. So I
Wow.
didn't know Hawthorn from St Kilda, from Doncaster, from Williamstown. I didn't know Melbourne at all. So I could have just, yeah, give me a job and I'll
I'll do it.
and I was just very fortunate. I landed a role with him in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So, it's pretty much top
Mm.
tier. Hawthorn, Kew, Surrey Hills, Canterbury, Camberwell, Glen Iris, Mont Albert, like just beautiful real estate, great architecture, period homes, Edwardians, Calbungs, Victorian homes, just amazing architecture, something we don't see on the sunny coast, obviously.
Yep.
So that really opened my eyes to just a different pace, different skill set. And I was just very fortunate to work and learn from one of the best in the industry. And he's still one of the best agents in the country. So it was a massive shift for me. My head was spinning for the first year. Traffic and,
Yeah. Dealing it
country
all.
roads and no traffic lights and going to sale yards and getting dusty and smelling like cow crap or sheep crap all day and all night, to wearing a suit, driving a different vehicle. It was just a completely different world, but
Mm.
an exciting one.
Fantastic. And then so you've been up Sunny Coast now for a number of years. What made you do that transition?
So moving from Melbourne, moved to the Northern Rivers, as I said to you earlier, and then pretty much in 2008, the market where I was in the Northern Rivers was very stagnant, was
Mm.
quite dead. Yeah, it's hard to even fathom what the market's like there now, but it was very tough. Days on market as a real estate agent were very, probably 12, 18 months, sometimes 2 years. Just
Wow.
hard to believe. You really
Yeah.
scratch your head. Anyone knows anything about real estate now knows that Northern Rivers market's gone phenomenally crazy. I mean, you would know more than most living down there.
Yep.
So a holiday up here when our kids were very young really opened our eyes to a bigger region. I mean, the Sunshine Coast is a big region.
Mm.
And at the time when I was working as an agent inland from Byron, I was also a freelance property auctioneer. So I pretty much transitioned from that Northern Rivers market into the Sunny Coast market as an auctioneer.
Right.
So just held me in really good stead now as a buyer's agent, because my clients, when I first arrived here, were real estate agents.
Of
So I
course.
was conducting training sessions, coaching agents about the auction method, calling auctions on a weekend, doing training sessions during the week, coaching agents that wanted to move their careers from here to here. Yeah, again, that was a massive transition, because the time I moved here was GFC.
Oh,
So again,
timing.
the market was dead.
Yeah.
So again, the GFC times was actually a time where, again, days on market were long and there was just no shift in pricing. And I just started educating agents around, well, maybe we remove the price, we put some other marketing behind it, we give it a push, and just starting to try and get a vendor more realistic about a price that the market may pay through the auction method. And slowly but surely, agents started accepting that as a method of sale. It took a couple of years though, but that's how we ended up here. We ended up here after a holiday.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it opened our eyes to lots of opportunity because the region is so big. The
Yeah.
Sunshine Coast is a big region. In fact, and I understand other buyers agents that might operate in a Brisbane or a Melbourne or a Sydney market or a Perth market or an Auckland market, it doesn't really matter. You can specialise in a certain segment of that market, whereas we're often asked, so what part of the Sunshine Coast do you guys specialise in? Well, we cover the whole region.
Yeah.
Like we have a team, there's not a suburb on the Sunshine Coast we haven't purchased in. It's a massive region. So I guess when we came up here in 2008, 2009, at the time, I just saw a lot of opportunity.
Fantastic. And what a great segue going from the auctioneer to the buyer's agency role where you've got those relationships with the agents already, which is phenomenal.
100%.
What have you seen over the years from Melbourne, Northern Rivers to now the Sunny Coast? What have you seen the biggest changes within the industry in relations to, being an agent or buyer's agent? What have you noticed as some of those biggest changes? Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? What I've realized is that with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show.
Yeah, great question. Social media.
Yeah, right.
Gosh, I've learned a lot about social media over the last 5 years. I've had to as a business owner.
Yep.
I didn't have social media the last time I was a sales agent. I didn't rely on Facebook or Instagram. I think what else have I seen as a massive change? Being able to adapt is a massive thing in terms of market challenges because I saw a massive change in the agent dynamic through, and some principals would admit to this, through lack of training. Like up until the interest rate rises we started seeing 18 months ago, a lot of principals that I knew very well from my time up here were saying to me, Simon, I'm actually having to train my team in how to talk to their vendors about interest rate rises.
Yeah, wow.
Because anyone that's been in the industry less than 10 years,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
so true, right?
the industry, have never seen an interest rate rise.
Great observation. Great point right there.
And that just blows your mind when you think about it.
Yeah.
We've had interest rate rises consistently over a period of time, which the market has to adjust to. So sometimes because we're a destination location, some agents I feel just need to improve their skill set around sitting down with an owner, having an honest conversation and saying, look, you bought this property, say in 2020. So that was COVID times.
Yep.
We're now 2024. We're post-COVID.
Yeah.
So regardless of what you paid for it, and of course, everyone wants to profit. Everyone expects the market to move 10, 15, 20% in the time they've owned it. That's not the real world.
Yep.
If someone comes along and sees value at that level, but then obviously we're seeing what we call a lot of round two properties where they've been listed exclusively for 3 months, been overpriced. The value of the property is probably here and it's priced here. And there's not that adjustment. There's not that skill set that the agent has to educate their owner in the right way, saying, guys, it's not 1.5, it's probably closer to 1.3. And
Mm.
this is the market evidence I'm showing you to support that.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I often say, because I use this as a sales agent, and I often say it when I'm talking to clients that come to us as buyers, property has a wholesale value. Property has a wholesale value. And when listings are tight, when agents need more stock, they go into someone's living room and they pitch it at retail value.
Yep.
It's not worth retail, it's worth wholesale. And there's a gap between wholesale and retail that, and then if they don't have the skill set. So I just think that unfortunately through the COVID times where agents just became order takers,
Yes.
listed at 2 million, I'll sell it for 2 million because I have multiple interest.
Yeah.
And that anyone can sell in a market that's flying. But when the market tightens, like it has, and it's still tightened here on the coast, but there's segments of the market that are still very strong. But when the market tightens, you've got to adjust your skill set and improve what you're doing and sharpen that axe and sharpen that blade and become better at what you're doing. When times are tough, just get better. Get better at what you do. Have those honest conversations with sellers. And I still think there's a lot of agents out there that are not doing that. So that's been a massive change as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, yeah, it's been really interesting over the last 4 years and the impact that COVID had on obviously through the northern rivers up here, and then obviously the sunny coast where you are at as well, and then that readjustment with vendors and getting them to understand, as you said, it's 4 years down the track. You know, we're not in those
Like
price.
it's 20, last time I looked, guys, it's 2024.
Sure, let's
So,
move on. It's all right.
and the other thing, a lot of buyers that are uneducated, that are either local, out of area, interstate, or overseas, and they come to us, they don't understand that we look at tenure, we look at the time that a property's been owned, and there's a lot of stock, particularly in the northern pocket of the coast here,
Mm.
that's been owned, or last time it was traded was only 2 or 3 years ago. So
Yep.
if you bought a property between 2020 and 2021, you paid a premium for it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
sometimes when that property comes to market at an inflated figure, I often say to an agent, so why does my client, who's the buyer, have to pay for your client's mistake
Very true.
or their lack of judgment? Because they bought it sight unseen in COVID. Like we
Yep.
know from memory, I don't know about Lennox or the Northern Rivers, but the peak of the market up here was probably between March and May 2021.
Yep.
That was the peak of the market.
Yeah.
Even 2020 was extremely strong in the back end, and the first 2 quarters of 2021 were extremely strong. So
Yep.
alarm bells go off for us. If we look at a property, we've lined it up, we're actually investigating it for a client. We thought, hello, a minute, these guys bought this in June 2021 and they paid an absolute premium for that property, which
Yep.
the market forces indicated that's what it was worth. But it's not the same market. Interest rates are higher. People aren't as confident. The economy is not as strong. There's a whole thing's going against the fact that, why have we got to pay you an extra $300,000 for that property?
So true. And we're noticing that here in relation to those those mini farms, those hobby farms that, those wanted to get out of the bigger cities. Oh, let's get some land, and they thought it was a good idea back in 2020 and 21, and then there's like didn't realize what it takes to run a farm and everything else that comes with that. And it's like, oh, now let's try and sell it at the same price, but obviously not getting those prices. And as you said, the days of market just blow right out.
They blow out.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
and so the clients that you're working with, you mentioned a little bit about it before, but obviously local clients, interstate clients. Who is it? Who is the main type of clientele that you usually are working with?
Yeah, great question, mate. So we do segment, and we measure everything that comes into the business in terms of where the inquiry comes from, how we finding it, where they're from. So a lot of people find this hard to believe. So 40% of our clients, or it sort of hovers between 35 and 40%, live locally.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
they live on the coast. So what we say local,
Interesting.
they're coast people,
Yep.
upsizing, downsizing, possibly renting, possibly young couples buying their first home, but generally it's families with kids aged between 5 and 15 that are, okay, we want to move to acreage now. We want to move to the beach now. We want to move from a townhouse to a house. We want to move from resi to acreage. So
Yep.
40% local, because they have as much time as everyone else. And
Very
that's
true.
like
Very
time
true.
is a very valuable commodity that a lot of people, they don't They don't put enough emphasis on the value of time.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's the first segment. Next segment is out of area. So out of area for us is Gold Coast, Brisbane, Toowoomba, and then North Queensland. So we've had a lot of clients: Mackay, Rockhampton, Yeppoon, Hervey Bay, Cairns, Mount Isa. That's a big segment of our market as well. Moving here, probably a lot of older clientele moving here to retire. Then we've got interstate, which speaks for itself. That's every other state in Australia, and there hasn't been, a state that we haven't purchased for. Sydney and Melbourne would be probably the front runners in terms of the percentage.
Yep.
And then our international clients. So we've got a lot of expats: New Zealand, North and South America, Europe, Indonesia.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. Good. Great mix. Yeah. Really interesting
Yeah, great
stats
mix.
though.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And where do you see the sunny coast market? I guess, I mean, I talk about crystal balls all the time, but if we talk about over the next 12 months, do you see there's much movement in the market up there?
Yes, I do. It's a very opportunistic market at the moment. Very opportunistic. So because of the things we've talked about with interest rates, so I often say to clients, it used to be good news when the RBA would come out and say interest rates are dropping.
Yep.
Now it's good news if interest rates are on hold.
Yeah.
That's how we actually view the announcement. So what I mean by opportunistic, there's a lot of people just cautious at the moment. They are not prepared to invest in property. There obviously are the clients we're looking after that are moving here regardless or live here and want to buy a property. But there's a large segment of the market that are just sitting and waiting. They're waiting for good news. And I think as human beings, well, it's probably the Australian way. It's like we're a mob of sheep. We're a mob of sheep. The gate's open. The gate's open. It just takes that first sheep to walk through, have a sniff, look through the gate, and then the runs, and then the rest of the sheep follow.
Yeah.
So Australians are very much like that. They're looking for a good sign, and the good sign they want, or the great news they want, is the RBA are reducing interest rates by 25 basis points. That's what they're waiting to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the floodgates are going to open, but any of your listeners out there that are thinking of either investing or buying property, it could be, I don't know, it could be in any region of Australia or in a metropolitan city. There's a massive opportunity over the next 9 to 12 months. I don't know when interest rates are going to start dropping, although we've heard that one of the major four are going to make an announcement in November about what they're doing with fixed over 2 years. They're going to come down, I think, about 5.3, 5.4% over 2 years. Not everyone will qualify for that. But I see a massive opportunity over the next 12 months for people that are committed, because you're not buying now to sell in 12 months' time. You're buying now to hold.
Yeah.
I love that Chinese proverb, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best time to plant a tree? Today.
Yep.
Same with property.
Yeah.
So I talk about blue sky a lot when I'm talking to investors and property owners and property buyers. There's a lot of blue sky on the Sunshine Coast. There's you can see on the Sunshine Coast Regional Council website, the infrastructure changes are just going through the roof. There's upgrades for the Olympic Games coming. There's light rail coming. There's new subdivisions coming or new suburbs being built. There is a lack of housing. That's one of the biggest problems we have on the coast. And I think the council are doing their best to address that. But there's a lot of blue sky. I mean, if I was a savvy property investor, which I am, I'd be looking to buy and hold property on the coast in the next 5 years, because I think we're going to see certainly another splurge, probably 2026, 2027. And as we get closer to the Olympic Games with the infrastructure that's coming, I just think it's a great time to be investing or buying and holding property. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Great outline and great awareness and great understanding of all those different variables and how they all come into an alignment. So very true.
Yeah.
Simon, we have a thing on our show where we have a 60-second quiz to find out a little bit more about our guests. Are you willing to play?
Yeah, mate, for sure. 60 seconds. Righto, let's do it.
Here we go. What's your favorite movie?
Silver Linings Playbook.
Fantastic. Favorite food?
Can't beat steak on a barbie, mate.
Nice. Favorite holiday destination?
Probably Northern Rivers.
Nice. What's your morning routine?
Normally in the gym under the house or going for a walk, mate. Like a walk along the beach or walk around where I live in Budrum. Yeah, it's a good way to start the day.
Beautiful. Evening routine?
Um, yeah, I try and switch off, mate. I try and switch off when I get home. Obviously, working in property, we don't clock off at a certain time, but I try and put my phone away, eat healthy, and maybe binge with a bit of Netflix with my partner or with the kids.
Nice. And do you have a most embarrassing moment?
Most embarrassing moment. Um, Gosh, in real estate?
Any or in life? Either one?
Yeah, okay. Most embarrassing moment when I learned to be an auctioneer and I was thrown in the deep end to do a Melbourne Cup Calcutta, and I was in a town hall in Braidwood down near Canberra, and my boss threw me in the deep end and said I was going to auction the last five houses, and there was a heavy-chested woman in the front row of the town hall, and so auctioneers will understand patter, auctioneer patter, and they're the little AdWords that you use to fill in between when you're calling numbers. Every auctioneer has their own unique patter. And one of my boss's patters was cheap as chips to try and get the bidding going. And of course, when I was new and fresh and had no idea what I was doing and just blurting out whatever was coming into my head, I actually said cheap as blank, something else, because of this heavy-chested woman in the front row. And I didn't realise that's what I was saying. So that was pretty embarrassing. I won't say it on air, but I'm sure
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
understand what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
well done. Well done. If you could choose five inspirational people to have dinner with, they could be dead or alive. Who would they be?
Oh, what a great question. Um, Definitely my dad's father, my grandfather, who I didn't meet,
Mhm.
who fought in the war and was pretty much an inspirational man in the little town that my dad grew up in and where I grew up, because I didn't meet him. I would say Nelson Mandela would be another.
Yep.
I would say for business nous, Richard Branson. I definitely like to meet him. Reese Witherspoon, because I've always had a bit of a crush on her. I just think and I follow her on socials, and I just think she's a very articulate, intelligent, bright, attractive woman.
Yep.
I'd love just to have a chat to her about stuff. Gosh, who else? Number five. Let me think. Maybe Julius Caesar.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
that might be an interesting conversation around
I
the
can
table.
imagine. Could go so many different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, cool. And if you were prime minister for the day, what's one thing that you would change?
Yeah, I look at affordable housing, mate,
Hmm. Yeah,
to
great.
make
And
to make it more to make it easy. Like my son's 18, he's been working a couple of years. He's watched me in my property journey. He knows I'm in real estate. He wants to buy a property. He knows he probably can't buy, well, he thought he can't, but it's going to be challenging for him to buy locally. I see you got to think of the whole country, mate. You can buy a place in Timbuktu. You haven't got to buy it. But yeah, I would definitely look at the affordable housing in Australia without a doubt, and what they can do
fantastic.
about that.
And
Yeah.
what's your best piece of advice?
Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it.
Great piece. Great piece of advice. And so how can the listeners find out more? How can they follow your journey? How can they reach out?
Yeah, so they can check us out or look us up on Instagram, which is Coast Property Buyers, or our website is coastpropertybuyers.com. We do have an exciting Coast Guarantee that we're running with over spring, which they can find out more about through Instagram or through a link on our website. But yeah, anyone that's interested in property on the coast and looking to buy, invest, or move, we'd love to help.
Fantastic. Mate, Simon, thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate it. Love the conversation, love the expertise, and mate, well done. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, James. Thanks for having me, mate.